Hi, I'm Tom Brookshire.
And I'm Pat Summerall. There are a lot of cliches used in the reporting of sports, and if there were a record for the cliche used most often on any given Sunday, I'd have to say it's the one that goes on any given Sunday. Any team in pro football can beat any other team in pro football.
I wish I'd said that.
I wish you had too.
Well, I don't know who would think of using a cliche like that, but last week must have been that given Sunday they're always talking about, because exactly half of all the games played were upsets.
And that means that of all the 26 teams in pro football, only the Miami Dolphins have won all 3 of their games.
I'll be darned. And only New Orleans and Philadelphia have lost all 3 of theirs.
We'll be showing you how all this came about, and at the end of the show, we'll once again have our selection of the best of the week.
And of course, Pat, the blood-curdling forecast of who will win the big ones this week.
After Joe Namath's 6-touchdown performance against the Colts, almost everybody was willing to guarantee that the Jets would beat the Oilers.
In Houston, the Oilers weren't about to get a big head because after 2 losses, they were going against the hottest hand in football. And Joe Namath had the Jets on the board the first time he got the ball. Jerome Barkham's catch and run put the Oilers in a hole, and Joe decided to bury them. The second time the Jets got the ball, Joe hit a streaking Rich Castor, who didn't quite make it in. And when number 19 Willie Alexander stopped number 36 Steve Harkey, the Jets were forced to settle for a field goal in a 10-0 lead. Meanwhile, Houston quarterback Dan Pastorini was just missing the corners. But then Pastorini started putting them right down the alley, and Hoyle Granger's catch led to a 1-yard Oiler tally. Pastorini continued hot, and his bomb to Ken Burrow rolled the Oilers to a 14-13 halftime lead. The lead gave Houston confidence, and confidence made them hitters. Three times they pounced on New York errors and turned them into 3 Oiler field goals. But with Joe Namath, the Jets are never done. He hit Rich Castor over the middle, and the Jets trailed 26-20. And with time almost gone, they got another chance. It was that old story again. Namath firing and the Jets threatening. But this time it was an empty threat, as J.W. Namath's pass was cut off by number 33 Benny Johnson, who sealed the Oiler victory 26-20. And after pulling off one of the top upsets of the week, who could blame the Oilers if they got a little bit of a swelled head?
With the Jets losing, all Miami had to do was to beat the Minnesota Vikings to claim the lead in the AFC East.
The last time a Shula Colts team played the Vikings in regular season was 3 years ago, and the final score was Shula Colts 14 and Grant Vikings 52.
In Minnesota, the Viking fans practice the happy art of tailgating royally. But quiche in costumes is strictly an hors d'oeuvre for these gourmets, and the main course, filet of greasy dolphin, was yet to be served. On his first series, Fran Tarkenton hit with the old persimmon pass, drawing in the Dolphin defense and hitting John Gilliam all alone for a 56-yard catch and carry touchdown. Meanwhile, the Purple Gang put the zonk on the Miami attack. Number 60, Roy Winston, doing the honors here. After Dick the Stick Anderson stole the ball from Minnesota's Bill Brown, Greasy frittered away Miami's only scoring chance in the first half with this interception by number 20, Bobby Bryant. Late in the third period, number 32, Oscar Reed's 22-yard sweep sparked an 80-yard 13-play touchdown drive. With 4.5 yards to go, Bill Brown dove across, establishing the Vikings' lead at 14-6. Employing a little razzle-dazzle to overcome penalties, Marlon Briscoe passed complete to Jim Mandich, setting up Garo Yepremian's third field goal, a 51-yarder. Yepremian's boot ended almost 10 minutes of Miami ball control in the fourth period. And now the no-name defense had to face down the Tarkenton mob. With 2:11 left, Miami regained the ball, aided by a roughing penalty on Bob Lertzema. An unrushed Bob Greasy found Howard Twilley for 17 more yards in the throat of the Vikings zone. On the next play, Bob Greasy hit Jim Mandich for a touchdown, making Don Shula the only undefeated coach in the NFL, defeating the Vikings 16-14.
Well, I'm not going to keep you up in the air about the Colts-Bills game. The Colts won at 17-0, but see if you can guess how many quarters these two teams have played without the Bills scoring a point.
Until last week in Buffalo, the Colt defense had not looked like the Colt defense of old. But in the Bills, they were playing a team that hadn't scored against them in 10 quarters, or 2.5 games. And the Baltimore defense felt that the record should be extended as they shut off O.J. Simpson. An interception by number 83, Ted Hendricks, shut down a Bills attack that managed only 13 yards total offense in the first half. Baltimore's offense was handled in the air by the John Unitas to Tom Mitchell combo, which struck for 7. On the ground, it was number 48, Don Nottingham, who took care of business as he gutted out 141 yards in total offense. And number 17, Sam Havrelak, applied the finishing touch as the Buffalo scoreless string versus the Colts moved to 14 quarters, or 3.5 games. Colts 17, Bills 0.
2 weeks ago, the 49ers were upset by those same bills, and somebody had to pay for it last week.
And unfortunately for the New Orleans Saints, they were the next ones on the San Francisco schedule.
In New Orleans, the winless Saints had their work cut out for them as they were going against the healed and healthy 49ers. On the opening kickoff, New Orleans had one of its few successes of the day as Margene Atkins, number 26, raced for 61 yards. But from that point on, it was all San Francisco as they stormed in and sacked Archie Manning 5 times. In addition to the sackings, the Saints lost the ball 4 times on interceptions and 3 times on fumbles. And while the 49er defense looked good, the offense was dynamite with number 22, a now healthy Vic Washington acting as the blasting cap. Vic's score was the first of the game, and the 49ers were off and running. And running is exactly what number 35 Larry Schreiber did so well and with such gusto. Of course, John Brody was feeling well, and of course, that meant Gene Washington was catching touchdowns. It also meant that number 82, Ted Kwolek, who's crossing your screen right now, was in line for another Brody scoring shot. The 49er defense, in the person of little Mike Simpson, number 38, finished the afternoon scoring with an interception and a 32-yard run, which made the final score San Francisco 37, New Orleans 2. For Archie Manning, it was a tough afternoon, but it may have been even tougher on those who only stand and coach.
In St. Louis last week, the suddenly strong Pittsburgh Steelers blended a fierce defense with the leadership of quarterback Terry Bradshaw, and the result was not pleasant for the stubborn Cardinals.
Sporting a 1-1 record, the St. Louis Cardinals were primed to explode against the Steelers. Unfortunately for the Cardinals, their first bomb proved a dud when number 81 Jackie Smith was ruled guilty of offensive interference. Smith didn't like it, and Pittsburgh obviously didn't like Smith. Then the Steeler defense went to work. They blew down St. Louis sweeps and hounded their quarterbacks into making ill-advised scrambles. The alert Steelers forced their own breaks. Safety Ralph Anderson picked off a deflection and burned upfield. Behind textbook blocking, Pittsburgh quarterback Terry Bradshaw threw a textbook pass that flanker Dave Smith couldn't read. The one thing Bradshaw could rely on was his own knack of improvisation, and his ad-lib plays have become a vital part of the Steeler offense. Pittsburgh coupled this soaring touchdown by Bradshaw with 2 more points when they trapped St. Louis punter Donnie Anderson in the end zone. But Anderson came back to sting the Steelers with a slashing touchdown that cut the Pittsburgh lead. Trailing 18-12 in the final quarter, the Cardinal defense, led by Dale Hackbart, met the Steelers head-on. With just more than 3 minutes to play, number 43, Norm Thompson, blocked Bobby Walden's punt and carried the Cardinals to a 19-18 lead. Then, with just over a minute to play, Terry Bradshaw found Frank Lewis completely unguarded, and Lewis loped in with a winning score. For Pittsburgh, their electric come-from-behind 25-19 victory was a solid stepping stone in their determined quest for the AFC Central Division Championship.
The Steelers have now won 2 out of 3 games, but they still must share the lead in the AFC Central Division.
That's right, Pat, and last Sunday, the 2 others they share it with went head-to-head.
Ohio fans filled Cleveland's Mammoth Municipal Stadium to witness one of football's newest but bitterest rivalries against the Bengals. For in each of the previous games between the two teams, the margin of victory has never been more than 4 points. Cleveland has won 3 of 4 of these barn burners, so tighten your shoulder pads and double-check your headgear. For when the Browns meet the Bengals, despite the presence of a certain Cincinnati rookie, there is no love lost between these two teams. Last Sunday in Cleveland was no exception as orange-helmeted bodies flew over the field. The hitting produced a Cleveland score when number 75, Wes Grant, knocked Ken Anderson loose from the ball, and Bob Briggs, the other anonymous defensive end, took it in for a touchdown. But the big story this day in Cleveland was Mike Phipps. The ex-Purdue All-American made rapid strides in preseason play, and in his 3rd year has replaced injury-prone Bill Nelson. The courageous Nelson is the Browns' acknowledged leader and spirit of the team, and thus is well suited for his new role as backup quarterback and mentor for the younger, more introspective Phipps. Cleveland coach Nick Skorich was particularly anxious to see how Phipps would perform against the improved Bengal defense, which going into today's game was ranked number 1 in the entire AFC. The results were conclusive. Phipps made his first start in Cleveland an extremely successful debut. It's been a long time since hometown fans have seen a pass spiral perfectly from the arm of a Cleveland quarterback. For not since the days of Otto Graham have the Browns had anyone with the pure passing ability of Mike Phipps. Today it was on display for 82,000 fans to appreciate. Phipps' 68-yard bomb to Frank Pitts was the play that broke the game open and assured a Cleveland upset victory over previously unbeaten Cincinnati 27-6. Ever since the controversial trade for Paul Warfield, the Cleveland Browns and Cleveland fans have waited for this day to come. Now that it has, it appears Mike Phipps will be the Browns quarterback for a long, long time.
Tom, you think it's possible that the Dallas Cowboys might finally be starting to show their age just a bit?
Maybe so, Pat, but the Green Bay Packers, on the other hand, are definitely showing signs of championship maturity.
The Dallas Cowboys were looking for their 3rd straight victory against the Green Bay Packers, but their early show of muscle soon dissipated before a rash of brutal mistakes. There was veteran cornerback Herb Adderley, number 26, feeling the fickle fingers of age. And there was punt returner Cliff Harris, who parlayed a fumble into a turnover. But mostly, the Cowboys fell victim to the swarming swirl of Packer gang tackling. Dallas quarterback Craig Morton often felt the might of the resurgent Packers. When Morton wasn't pressured, he fired aimless passes. This one was devoured by Al Matthews, number 29. On offense, Green Bay was led by their star sophomore running back John Brockington. Brockington's bullish runs netted him 81 yards rushing and a pretty touchdown that gave the Pack a 10-3 lead. The Cowboys rallied with the clutch catching and nifty running of wide receivers Lance Allworth, number 19, and Bob Hayes, number 22. The finishing touch was applied by Walt Garrison, who powered past Packer safety Jim Hill to a touchdown. But in the end, the world champions fell prey to their own errors. This interception by rookie Willie Buchanan, number 28, sealed the Cowboys' fate as Green Bay rode on the firm foot of Chester Marcol, whose 22-yard field goal gave the Packers a 16-13 victory.
It looks like pro football is no different than any other segment of our society, Pat. Some upstart kid is always ready to challenge established procedure.
Last week, purists of the classic drop-back passer school had to be appalled, Tom, as two young quarterbacks violated every cardinal rule.
The winds that whipped through Soldier Field last week may have been the winds of change. The Bears and Lions matched unusual pro offenses based on the unique talents of their young quarterbacks. Chicago's Bobby Douglas, number 10, is crowbar tough and trying to resurrect the old belly option series while adding his own special flair. No one knows what to call Douglas's offense yet, but with it he now leads his team in rushing. The Detroit Lions also have a sturdy young leader, a physical match for the raw-boned Douglas. Number 11, Greg Landry, was called unorthodox when he first came into the league, but he too is a quarterback who runs not from fear, but for effect. So now the Lions have adapted an offense to fit his style. Last week, Landry led his team in rushing. Both are young and strong, but no one has ever confused Landry with Douglas when it comes to passing. Douglas has a cannon, but his passes are sometimes harder to catch than cannonballs. On the other hand, Landry has developed a fine pro touch, and he lofted a first quarter score to Craig Cotton, number 87. Then the Douglas wide wishbone formation showed it needed some fine tuning. While Chicago worked out the bugs, Landry explored new and different ways for a quarterback to score. He popped clear on a sneak up the middle and then tried out his scrambling form from the pass pocket. Landry's one-man scoring spree built up a 28-10 Lion cushion through 3 quarters. But the Hard Rock Bears and Dick Butkus hung on. Because of unfavorable comments about the Lions published in his recent autobiography, Butkus was a marked man. But the wild man of the middle still got in his share of licks and even added a new dimension to the Butkus persona. He loped 28 yards from punt formation before he ran down and punctuated his effort in Butkus style. The spirit of number 51 is infectious, and it carried the Bears into a belated fourth quarter comeback. Promising Jim Harrison, number 35, bulled over for some Chicago solace in a lost cause. But the real story of the game was a duel between two unusual young quarterbacks and what may be the shape of future pro offenses. Douglas manufactured some amazing offensive football on the way to 97 yards rushing. Landry's efforts were equally incredible, 87 yards rushing for 3 touchdowns. The personal duel was nearly equal, but the only statistics that really mattered were 38 points to 24, as the Lions tied with Green Bay for the lead in the NFC Central. Offense of the future or not, the bruised and beaten Bears are now last in the division and still in search of their first win in 72.
Last week we heard that in Atlanta they were giving some special kind of lessons in short-range field goal kicking. So we had our own expert place-kicking specialist pack his red blazer and get on down south to investigate.
Our handsome agent in Atlanta found out that when the Rams meet the Falcons, some pretty weird things happen. The Falcons were ready. They had been practicing weird things. The question was, could the rugged Ram defense stop the NFC's top-ranked offense? The answer was a resounding no. Partly because in the first quarter, number 21 cornerback Gene Howard, who scored the Rams' only touchdown the previous week, could not handle Falcon wide receiver Ken Burrow. Number 82 Ken Burrow with an OW, no relation to Houston's 00 Ken Burrow with an OUGH, has rapidly become one of the premier wide receivers in pro football. Burrow's touchdown was one of only 2 Falcon pass completions. Mainly, Bob Berry just handed off to his runners. Art Malone batted for 103 yards, but the laurels went to a new man. So new that his name had not yet been stitched on his jersey. Lest you forget, number 43 is Dave Hampton, the former Green Bay Packer who found a home in the Falcon record book with 161 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. The second for 56 yards and one of the prettiest runs of the year. While Atlanta rolled up almost 300 yards on the ground, Los Angeles called upon stiff-armed Roman Gabriel to bring the Rams back through the air. Gabriel's arm worked better than expected, but the Falcon front four repeatedly forced errors. Between them, Gabriel and his backup, Pete Beathard, number 12, threw a total of 6 interceptions. One, the first theft in the pros, for number 29 free safety Clarence Ellis of Notre Dame, Atlanta's #1 draft choice. But the play which most pleased Atlanta fans was an interception by old number 60, the original Falcon, Tommy Nobis. His legs aren't what they used to be, but they got him where he wanted to go. In a replay, we can see that Claude Humphrey's pressure caused Gabriel's poor pass. Gabriel's view of defeat was an unusual one. In 12 tries, he had never before seen the Falcons conquer the Rams. Tommy Novus had also seen 12 Ram-Falcon games, and to him, revenge was oh so sweet. For the Falcons and their fans, it was a day never to be forgotten, and somehow, better still, they knew this was only the beginning. Final score, Atlanta 31, Los Angeles 3.
In their first two games, the Super Bowl hopeful Kansas City Chiefs looked anything but super. Then last week, they traveled to Denver to face a team which had beaten them only twice in 24 tries.
The fans in Denver never give up. Someday we'll see the Broncos defeat the Chiefs again, maybe this week. After all, this is upset week, right? And who better to pull off a big upset than number 10 new quarterback Joe Kapp? Number 10 is really Steve Ramsey, and although he's no Joe Kapp yet, he did have his moments in leading the Broncos to a score in each quarter and a total of 24 points. He also got some worthwhile assistance from last year's league rushing champion Floyd Little. In the first 2 weeks of the season, 24 points would have been enough to defeat the Chiefs. Last week, it didn't even come close. Lynn Dawson set up the Chiefs' first touchdown with a pass to Dennis Holman, number 21. Despite good pass protection after the initial touchdown, Dawson could not cash in again and finally left the game to rest his banged-up ribs. In the second half, enter number 10, Mike Livingston, who some have said is a better runner than a passer. Livingston's first run was worth 51 yards. His first pass was worth 35 to tight end Willie Frazier, number 83. Livingston's next pass was good for a touchdown to the same Willie Frazier. Next, Livingston drilled one to Dennis Holman for another touchdown. In the fourth quarter, Livingston shook loose long enough to find Otis Taylor with his third touchdown pass. Mike Livingston has now played in 10 games with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs have won all 10. The finishing touches were added by strong safety Jim Kearney, number 46. Minutes later, Kearney completed a rare double play. 2 interception touchdowns in the same quarter. Kansas City outscored Denver 45-24 and kept Bronco fans wondering when they might ever see their team win another over the Chiefs.
Kansas City is back on top in the AFC West, Tom, but that perch is hardly secure.
Precarious at best, Pat. Last week, San Diego and Oakland squared off in a ferocious battle, which proved neither one is ready to concede yet.
Raider head coach John Madden is no stranger to the heated San Diego-Oakland rivalry. His San Diego counterpart is. New Charger head coach Harlan Savari was not around when Madden was leading the Raiders to 9 wins in their last 11 games with San Diego. But last week, the opening scene seemed very familiar to longtime Charger fans. Darryl LaMonica saw number 87, Ray Chester, clear the linebacker, then like so many times in the past, he let fly. Once again, the confident Raiders seemed to have San Diego's number, and they raced to a comfortable 14-0 first quarter lead. But AFC traditions mean nothing to the new Chargers. For number 37, Sid Edwards, Oakland was just another team to run over. Edwards started his first game as a Charger and proceeded to rip the vaunted silver and black defense to shreds. Number 21, John Hadel, used his new weapon to maximum advantage as Edwards accounted for over 2/3 of the total Charger offense. The new gun in town left dazed Raiders strewn all over the field, and his 2 short touchdown runs put San Diego back in the game. The Raiders had new respect for their old rivals, and now LaMonica's best shots were not quite good enough. With the score tied at 17, both teams locked horns and laid down the brutal ground rules for a brand new rivalry. The whole bitter battle came down to a familiar scene. Old pro George Blanda, 1 minute left, tie game. The scene of another last-second save by the resident Miracle Man. But this time, the Miracle Man proved mortal as Blanda shanked his 37-yard attempt. With the 17-17 tie, Madden has another early season headache to cope with, and the new Chargers wonder if it's this tough every time.
Well, I finally figured out why the Patriots moved to Foxborough. They've upset so many people, they must have been banned in Boston. A shocking behavior.
With a wave of his magic right wand, Jim Plunkett transforms the Patriots from good sports to spoilers. Right up to the last minute, George Allen cautioned his Redskins not to let their perfect record go to spoil. At the start of the second period, it began to look as if Billy Kilmer would run the Patriots right out of Schaefer Stadium. First, he hit Charlie Taylor for a 30-yard touchdown. And then after New England fumbled, he hit Taylor again for a 14-0 lead. But Plunkett waved his magic right wand, hitting number 33, Reggie Rucker, for a 40-yard play. Josh Ashton bolted over on the 12th play of the 83-yard drive, and the Patriots were still in the ballpark. Beginning the third quarter, number 31, Ashton, swept for 27 of the 108 yards he would gain in 23 carries. Plunkett completed the 73-yard drive in 8 plays, hitting Reggie Rucker for a 14-14 tie. But Larry Brown, number 43, began carving up the New England defense, gaining 36 yards on this play in the fourth period. For the afternoon, the NFC's leading rusher gained 113 yards in 20 tries. Kilmer capitalized on Brown's running, hitting Jerry Smith for a 21-17 lead. It was Smith's third catch and his third touchdown catch of the year. On On the next series, Plunkett achieved 80 yards in 8 plays, finding Josh Ashton at the goal line to regain the lead 24-21. Kilmer immediately gobbled back 62 yards on a big play to Charlie Taylor. But Kilmer could not get 6, and Kurt Knight kicked a 33-yard field goal. A roughing the holder penalty gave Washington a first down as George Allen refused the tying points. Again, Kilmer could not move the Skins, and this time Knight missed a 27-yard attempt. When New England ran out of downs, Bill Malinchak blocked Pat Studstill's punt. But number 24, Malinchak, could not control the ball in bounds, and Washington had to settle for a safety. After the ensuing free kick, Knight attempted a 50-yarder that failed, and George Allen's decision to shun a half a loaf left him hungry in New England, with the score locked at 24-23 against him. Former Redskin Ricky Harris could hardly contain himself. For the second week in a row, a misfooted field goal attempt in the final seconds opened the way for the Patriots' second shocking upset of the young season. Number 70, Dennis Rogowski, played well himself, but thank heaven anyway.
Well, those Patriots must be doing something right. And one thing for sure, Pat, Jimmy Plunkett is some kind of a second-year quarterback.
Plunkett and the Patriots certainly deserve some recognition for their second straight upset thriller. But the best of the week this week is a tough choice.
Boy, I guess. You could go to Malone or Hampton of the Falcons or Pastorini and the Oilers or the entire Miami team.
In a way, it goes to all those people and more. This week, the best of the week goes to the many men behind the upsets. The tough hitters who on any given Sunday are what sets pro football apart from all the other sports.
Well, that's for sure. We'll just keep quiet for the next half minute or so and let you see what we mean. Boy, I ache all over watching that.
I no longer wonder when their playing days are over, Tom. How about our picks for this week? Detroit, Atlanta, that's a big game. What do you think?
Well, Falcons are moving the ball, but I think Detroit's going to outscore them. What do you think?
I saw Atlanta last week look as good running the ball as any team I've seen in a long time, so I'll take them. Miami at the Jets. What do you think?
I think the Jets will come back and run the ball against the Dolphins and maybe stop Greasy with that defense.
I feel lucky to have Miami. I'll take them. How about San Francisco, L.A.?
Oh, that battle on the West Coast. The 49ers have it all together and should pound the Rams a little bit.
I like the 49ers, too, so I'll take them.
Okay.
At any rate, we'll be back next week to show you what happens. I'm Pat Summerall.
I'm Tom Brookshire, and we'll see you next week.